Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marisa and so many of you have commented on previous videos about the different projects you are embarking on in your own home, whether it's a kitchen renovation, bathroom renovation, or a transformation of another area of your home. So many of you are doing your own projects. So I wanted to create this video to give you a little bit of insight about some things you might not think of right off the hop that you're really gonna wanna know going into your renovation. Here are 4 things that you really need to consider before you start your renovation journey. Okay, so you know that right now we're in the middle of our own home renovation project. The bathroom behind me is almost finished. We're adding in the second bathroom to our home down here in our basement. And we're just kind of tracking the whole journey here on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check out some of the progress and where we're at, I'll link those videos for you below. Before we dive into these 4 things to consider today, I would love it if you would take a moment and tap subscribe and be a part of this growing community. I love to hear from you guys. So while you're at it, pop by the comments, say hello, and let me know what home renovation project you're working on. Okay, so let's say you're at the part of your renovation where you've done all of the demolition, you've ripped down the walls you want to rip down, you've pulled up carpet or flooring or whatever it might be, and now you're ready to start the process of constructing and building the space that you're envisioning. One of the very first things you're going to need to know is the very end use of all of those electrical outlets that you want to have installed. So typically an electrician in your area, they'll have certain codes that they have to use when they're installing their electrical outlets, which means you will end up having power in the rooms you're renovating. You will end up having the outlets that you need. However, you really want to give some consideration right now at the very beginning of your project as to where exactly you're going to want to have power outlets located for the purpose that you intend to use the space for. Let me use our home renovation as an example. So you'll see here in our home office there are a handful of different outlets at different heights. This is because we have different intentions for each of these outlets. So the one that is underneath the counter height is going to be where we plug in our printer and things that are just kind of constantly plugged in our home office. The ones that are at counter height, where our desk work surfaces are going to mainly be used for charging both laptops, iPhones, that kind of thing, because we both use laptops and we're going to take them when we're not working here, we take them to the other locations we work at. So having the ability to quickly unplug and plug in our laptops is really important to us. So we've installed some outlets at counter height. Additionally, I've also installed some higher than that, and they're actually going to be in the back of a pantry that I'm putting here at the side of my desk. This is so that I can keep all of my camera gear plugged in and charged and ready to go, so that at a moment's notice I can grab something and start filming if needed. But I wanted all that concealed and tucked out of the way in storage. And so in this one small space, we've got low outlets, counter height outlets, and this hidden outlet that will be concealed when this project is done. Actually, let me show you some of the other space here that we're working on in our basement, and we'll kind of give you a better idea of what I'm talking about. So we are about 80% through this renovation. We've already had the painter come in and do priming and put 1 coat of paint everywhere. And as we finish the space out, he will come back and finish all of the final touches that need to happen, the final coats of paint and touch-ups, etc. So in the meantime, you can see over here where the TV is, that there is a TV that we've mounted because we do want to use the space now, even though it's not quite finished. But there's all the cables hanging from the bottom of the television, and it just looks really terrible. We also have this really long audio bar. This is what gives us the sound from our television, and right now it's just sitting on top of this ledge. But when this room is finished, the TV will be mounted, the audio bar will be mounted on the wall right underneath the TV, and none of these cables will be visible. And this is why. Behind the TV there is an outlet. That's plugging in the TV, and it will also plug in this long audio bar. But additionally, there is a conduit that we poked a hole essentially through the drywall and ran a tube through the back of the drywall in behind the wall, and we brought it out down closer to the ground. It's actually hidden in this cabinet right here. So this conduit is going to allow us to take things like our cable box or our Apple TV and have them still plugged into the television, but without the wires hanging visible for all to see. So we had to really know this in advance before we started the project. When the electrician comes in right at the beginning, we had to know when this is all said and done, 9 months from now, and it wasn't supposed to take that long, How are we going to want to use this space? And that really helped us to be able to communicate really effectively to the electrician as to where the outlets needed to go and where conduits needed to be run, etc. This massive TV brings me to point number 2. This is a really great idea to consider when you are mounting something heavy like a TV, or if you're going to mount shelves that are going to have lots of heavy items on this. We did this in my kitchen with open shelving in my kitchen because we knew it was going to hold plates and cups and cookbooks and some heavier items. It's really a great idea to do this if there's anything really heavy that you're going to be hanging on your walls. Okay, disclaimer, this is not actually 100% necessary, but we have found it to be a really effective way of hanging heavy items over the years. If you don't want to do this, you can go to your local Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and ask them for some really heavy duty anchors and there's a whole bunch of different options of things you can use when you're hanging something really heavy directly to drywall, or if you're in the States, sheetrock. But sometimes that material just doesn't feel strong enough to hold something that's really, really heavy. So we like to reinforce the drywall with some plywood. That way when we're screwing the anchors and the screws that are going to be holding up these heavy items to our wall when the whole project is done, it's actually getting a lot of grip by screwing directly into plywood as opposed to just into the drywall. But if you're going to want to do that, you need to know that early on in your process so that as things are getting prepared for drywall and all those things that are happening before the actual finished product takes place, you make sure you get that plywood in place where it's going to need to go so that it can be the support that you want it to be. Okay, moving on to number 3, also has to do with your electrician, and that is your entire lighting plan. I know it can sound really crazy when all of the walls have been demolished and you're considering kind of what the next step is in rebuilding might be, but you really want to know your lighting plan because the electrician comes on the project really early on, and they do all of their initial electrical work. They may come back later on in the project They may come back later on in your project to hang light fixtures and, kind of finish off things. But early on, they're running their wiring and their cabling where it needs to go behind the walls. So knowing exactly where your lights are going to be, what light switches turn on those lights, if they're on dimmers, all of that really needs to be thought through. Let me show you this as an example. So from the top of our stairs coming down into the basement, we have one light switch. This turns on one set of lights. This allows us to go down the stairs and either access the laundry room or our office area or the bathroom that we've just built. We can access all of those just by turning on this one bank of lights. Also, because that section of lights is in the back of our family room, soon to be family room, we wanted them to be dimmable so that if we were watching a movie and we didn't want the lights totally off, we could dim them. So that's one bank of lights on a light switch that we can function from the very top of our stairs so that we're not walking down in the dark. But also we put the exact same bank of lights on a light switch at the bottom of the stairs. So if we're down here and we do want to shut the lights off, we just have to flick that light switch. Then we looked at the whole living space and we thought, how do we want the lights in here to be broken up? I do have one wall sconce that's going to be above a picture, so that's got its own light switch and it's also dimmable. But then I thought, okay, we're going to have this whole area where we're going to watch movies and hang out as a family with friends and that kind of stuff. But also I'm going to have a secondary area where I can sit down with a good book and read and curl up by the fire and have like a cozy moment there. So I wanted there to be lighting that was specific to that area that I could turn off and on separate from all of the lighting in the rest of the family room. So when you look in the family room, you will just see all of the pot lights hanging from the ceiling because the painter needs to come, and once the paint is finished, then the pot lights will actually get installed. But they're broken up into two sections. One section is for the cozy area by the fireplace where I can read. The other area is the whole TV area, kind of the main family room area. Both of those are on their own light switches and they're also dimmable. So we had to think through all of that before, really when it was just at the studs, pulled back to the studs phase. We had to think, how do we want to use the space when it's done? We did the same thing in our office. There's a wall sconce over Jeff's desk and then a regular ceiling light in the main office area. We've got those on two different light fixtures. Just some things to really think through. Have you ever been into a bathroom and you turn on the light and automatically the lights come on and the fan comes on? That was thought through from the very beginning of the project. In this bathroom behind me, we ended up going for 3 different switches. One that operates the bathroom fan, one that operates the overhead ceiling light fixture, and a third one that turns on the vanity lights. This was just our preference, but you may choose to have one light that turns on your lights and your fan all together. My point is, you have to think that stuff through completely in advance so that when the electrician comes in to run the wiring, you know exactly where you want your switches, your outlets, all the things. Okay, and the fourth thing that you really need to consider at this stage when you're walking through this construction zone that everything's been pulled back to the studs, you really need to know what's going to be happening with plumbing. So your plumber's going to want to come before you get into building the walls and the drywall and all that, and he's going to want to do what's called the rough-ins. And this is where he does all the initial plumbing that's going to be concealed behind the walls, and then he will attach the fittings that come with your plumbing fixtures, the parts that kind of go hidden in the wall and then kind of stick out from the wall. And then after the process of everything is all completed, your plumber will come back. He will attach the exterior fittings onto those original fittings that are kind of protruding from the wall, and that will complete the whole plumbing process. But we need to know right off the hop where water lines are being run. So again, I'll just use my basement as the example. We knew that in this bathroom behind me, we wanted to have a double vanity, even though it's a tiny space. We've got 2 teenage girls and they each need to get ready and have their own space to get ready. So we needed a double vanity. We knew that we wanted to have a shower so that we could have a second shower in this home. And we knew obviously we wanted a toilet because it's a bathroom. In addition to that, we wanted to have like a wet bar kitchenette type area in our family room. So the plumber, while everything was all stripped back, had to break up the concrete ground and run plumbing from this area behind me directly across the room to where this wet bar kitchenette area is going to be installed. So for the duration of this whole project, there has been plumbing fixtures sticking out of the wall at the far side of our family room, because eventually we will put a countertop there and cupboards and a sink and all the things, and we will have running water over there. Which means you need to give some consideration to more details, like what is the countertop area going to be like? How wide is it going to be? How deep is it going to be? What depth or width of a sink are you going to want to have there? That might dictate the type of faucet that you have the plumber install right at the very, very beginning. This means that really early on in your project, you need to have some of your plumbing fixtures on site. If you know the kind of shower fixture you're going to want or the faucets that you're going to want for your sink, they may still stay in the box for months and months and months, but the plumbing supplies needed to make those faucets work or to make that shower head work are going to need to be taken out of its packaging and given to the plumber so that he can do the rough-ins that he needs to do, so that later on in the project when he comes back, all that stuff's ready to go. So going into this project, we had our bathroom vanity, which included the sinks, we had the faucets, we had the faucet for our kitchenette area, we had the shower for our washroom, and we knew that we wanted a toilet. We didn't have it on site, but that wasn't necessary for the plumber to do the rough-in. All of that we had to have on site right at the beginning, and literally we opened it up, took out like the guts of the product, and let the plumber have access to what he needed, and the rest of these items have been sitting in their packaging for months on end, waiting for this project to come to the point in time where we can then install the rest of the fixture and have its beauty seen in all of its glory. You'll see in our little kitchenette area here, we also have some electrical at a low height as well as some a little bit higher up. This is because we're going to be putting a bar fridge in, and so it needed to be plugged in down low, but we also want to have the ability to plug in a kettle or a coffee pot or different things, and so we needed electricity run at counter height. We had to see all of that and envision all of that right at the very beginning of the project to be able to tell the electrician, the plumber, all the people, all the details that they need to know. I know sometimes when you're diving into a renovation, it can be easy to think like, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? But when it comes to doing home renovation projects, you really need to know the very, very end before you even start the project. It's knowing what you're going to use the space for, knowing how you're going to use it, where the flow of traffic is going to be, the people that are going to be in there, the quantity of bodies occupying a space at a given time. All of those things really need to be thought through so that you're ready to give the electrician and the plumber and the different tradespeople all of the information that they're going to need to know at the very beginning of your project so that the rough-ins can be done with excellence. Okay, so for all of you who are working on your own home renovation projects right now, I really hope this was helpful. I would love to hear from you in the comments. You guys have an awesome week, and we'll see you back here next time at I Am Loved.